Welcome to Stoic Verz, where ancient philosophy meets real human resilience. This episode tells the true story of a man who endured one of history's darkest chapters and emerged not with bitterness, but with clarity, purpose, and peace. If you've ever struggled to find meaning in your own pain, this story is for you. In 1942, Viktor Frankl was 37 years old. He had a loving wife, a respected career, and a nearly completed manuscript. A life's work in psychology. All of that was taken away in one train ride. Frankl arrived at Auschwitz carrying a small case. In it, the pages of his book. It was stripped, his clothing burned, his identity erased, and his manuscript, the book he had poured his soul into, was taken and destroyed. That night, he was given a uniform and a number. And he realized he had no freedom, no control, no guarantee of survival. Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, he later wrote, the last of the human freedoms: to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. This is the story of a man who found freedom in the fire, who discovered that even in the most brutal prison, you can create meaning. This is Viktor Frankl, and the Stoic path of finding purpose through pain. Before Auschwitz, Frankl was already different. Born in Vienna in 1905, he was a student of psychology, deeply influenced by Freud and Adler, but not a follower. Where Freud saw the drive for pleasure and Adler the drive for power, Frankl saw something deeper. Man's search is for meaning. Frankl believed that what we crave, more than comfort, more than pleasure, is purpose, something to suffer for, something worth surviving for. He had already helped hundreds of patients facing depression and suicidal thoughts by reframing their suffering, not as something to be escaped, but as something to be understood. When we are no longer able to change a situation, he wrote, we are challenged to change ourselves. But nothing in theory could prepare him for what was to come. Not a lecture hall, not a degree, not even his own confidence. Soon, Frankl would face the same question he had once asked his patients: why go on living? Auschwitz wasn't just a prison. It was a machine. Everything was designed to dehumanize. Names were replaced by numbers, shoes stolen, hair shaved. Families torn apart within minutes of arrival. Every morning, prisoners awoke to the same sounds: barking dogs, shouting guards, and the terrifying crackle of the loudspeakers. They were marched in freezing temperatures for hours, starved, beaten, worked to death, or selected for extermination. Frankl was assigned to manual labor, building railroad tracks and carrying heavy stones, on barely any food. Many gave up. They lay down in the snow and did not get up again. Frankl later described what happened when the soul surrenders. The prisoner who had lost faith in the future, his future was doomed. He saw friends give up on life, and within 24 hours their bodies followed. What kept some alive? What kept him alive? Not strength, not luck, but something far quieter, a why. Frankl made a decision: he would survive, not for revenge or out of fear, but for meaning. He began to imagine giving a lecture after the war about the psychology of the concentration camp. He imagined himself on a stage, talking to students, explaining what happens to a soul under total despair. He imagined writing again, rebuilding his book from memory, one fragment at a time, and he clung to the idea that suffering, if given meaning, ceases to be suffering. If there is meaning in life at all, he wrote, then there must be meaning in suffering. One day, he walked past a dying prisoner. The man looked up at Frankl and whispered, "Why? Why is this happening?" Frankl didn't say anything, but later he would write, "Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how." He remembered his wife's face, her warmth, her laugh, even though he didn't know if she was alive. He talked to her in silence. He clung to her image. Love is the ultimate and highest goal to which man can aspire. In the face of horror, he created hope. In the face of pain, he created purpose. When the camps were liberated, Frankl returned to a destroyed Vienna. He learned that his wife had died. So had his mother, his father, nearly everyone. But he did not collapse because he had already mourned, already rebuilt. He sat down to write, not to forget, but to preserve. In just 9 days, he wrote a short, quiet book, Man's Search for Meaning. That book has since sold over 16 million copies, translated into more than 50 languages. He didn't preach, he didn't dramatize. He told the truth, that life is suffering, but that suffering can become sacred. He spent the rest of his life teaching what he had learned, that no matter how broken the world, your response matters more than your condition, that every human being can find meaning, even in death, even in grief, even in a camp built to destroy souls. Viktor Frankl wasn't called a Stoic, but he lived like one. He embodied the truth that Marcus Aurelius Seneca and Epictetus preached. The obstacle is the way. What stands in the way becomes the path. You may not control events, but you always control yourself. Frankl showed that when everything is stripped from you, your family, your health, your freedom, your dignity, you still have one last freedom, to choose your attitude. This is the path of the Stoic. This is the path of the survivor. This is Stoic Verz. If this story moved you, subscribe to the channel. Share this message with someone who needs strength right now. And remember, you don't have to escape suffering to overcome it. You just need to give it meaning. Real stories, ancient wisdom, modern strength. This is Stoic Verz.